What have you seen from the first 5 days that's encouraging?
It's been a really good 5 days just to see where our guys picked up this training camp and where they left off this spring. I think it's credit to our players, the leadership that they have, these summer workouts, just carrying over the drill work and the details by our coaches. Then our offensive coaching staff has done a phenomenal job. I credit those guys extremely well. I think we have the best staff in America, and really fortunate to work with the guys that I work on the offensive staff. But they've prepared the players extremely well, and so when you see the guys go out there and they're able to retain the information and go out and play at a high level, it's exciting to watch.
Some of the players were saying at Big Ten Media Days that they've seen Shea particularly kind of take more of a leadership role. How is that kind of showing itself on the field?
Oh, Shea is playing lights out right now. I was a little bit worried about him coming into camp because he spent so much time on the golf course this summer. So I kind of, I wanted to kind of see him more calling me and asking questions. But he's playing lights out. He really is. It just stands out. Just his playmaking ability, his ball placement, his footwork within the pocket. I've been really, really pleased. He's playing at a really big time level, and so he sets the standard and really pushes the ball high for our offense. And the other players around him see it. And one of the things we talked about coming into this camp is accountability. Making sure that we hold everybody accountable on offense, and they've done a really good job, as far as leadership-wise doing that.
Where would you say you're at with the installation of the offense? You got a percentage or something?
Yeah, we just finished day 5. We just finished day 5 of our install. We've got about a couple more days left of install, but we're at a really good place. I would probably say, 65 to 75% of the offense is installed from that standpoint. But we have a lot of creative identity to be able to do things within that 75%. And so, we keep, although we've installed concepts, you find all different creative ways to do them. And so that's been the thing is even though it's not a new concept, there may be new wrinkles, new adjustments, new little things that you sprinkle on them as camp goes. But our kids have done a phenomenal job so far.
Josh, you mentioned pushing accountability. Where does that come from and why that?
That's just a standard of our process right there of who we want to be offensively. When we talk about the mindset, the standard of who we want to be on offense, the things that we talk about is buy-in and accountability. And it's also developing that confidence within each other and holding each other accountable. And so that's just something from a leadership standpoint that we talked about starting out camp. Just making sure that, as we go along this process that we're going on, when to be who we want to be, everyone's got to be held accountable for it. And so that's not just a football standpoint. That's a discipline deal. That's off the field. That's holding each other accountable, going to class, going to lift, being on time for things. If we can have that standard set within our unit, it'll take us where we want to go.
You were so limited in the running backs room in the spring. What does the room look like now, and how have the guys like Zach and Christian, how have they acclimated?
It looks completely different. When you're down 3 running backs, obviously it looks different. But we got 5 backs. That's probably the deepest position for us right now. And people, you really don't realize that. But, you look at those 5 guys, when now obviously you see where True's at. True's done a really good job, reshaping himself. Really done a really good job with his athleticism and everything, and playing at a really good level. And you get Christian Turner back out there. You see his explosive ability to being able to make explosive plays on the ground. But then now you're getting guys out there that you didn't quite see in the spring. Zach Charbonnet, who's having a really good camp. Hassan Haskin, who another guy was out this spring, having a really good camp. He's got really good vision and body control. But then another guy who's having a great camp is Ben Van Sumeren. He's a guy that people look at because he's a 240-pound back, but he has really good speed. And so when I look at that room and the depth that we have 5 backs that I believe can go out there and play for us, and there will be no drop-off, it makes me excited. And as I said in the spring, there was no worry. I kind of thought I knew that. But this camp, they've proved to me that we've got a really good room at running back, and I'm excited to see those guys.
Charbonnet's name came up repeatedly in Chicago at Media Day, just that people were impressed with him, Jim, the players, everything. What has he done to earn that impression, I guess, first?
Yeah, I think when you look at Zach, it's his maturity stands out right away. He's such a mature kid. And when you see his work ethic, he's always in the weight room. He's always in the coach's offices. Very smart and cerebral player. Even though he missed all the spring, he's made no mistakes this camp. And obviously, Coach Jay has done a really good job catching those running backs up. I was actually a little bit concerned at first, wondering where would be the transition period for those guys that missed spring. They would need a ton of reps, but they really haven't. And that's a credit to, Coach Shea. That's a credit to the players themselves taking the mental reps in the spring. Even though they couldn't physically take reps, they were out there hearing all the coaching points, hearing all the reads, so they were able to come out and play at this level. But Zach is maturity first and foremost. Obviously, he's got great size. He's got really good feet and hips. He can make some special cuts, and so. But when you look at him from a personal standpoint, his maturity stands out first and foremost. Just a great kid. So we're really excited about him.
With so many players returning on the offensive side, how much has the chemistry that's already built in within the offense helped with adapting your new system?
Yeah, it's been awesome. The chemistry, obviously, they're having a lot of guys, possibly 8 or 9. You look at some of the other guys that. Like Andrew Stuber, who started games before in the past. You consider him a starter. Nick Eubanks, you can consider a starter. But having a bunch of guys that have started and played in games is the biggest asset for me as a coordinator. And so when you see those guys, have the chemistry that they have, the thing I preach and talked about, as we come together and build this thing together, now it's the confidence. It's to walk a certain way, be a certain way as an offense. And so that starts with chemistry. You got to have chemistry in order to have confidence. And so when you see your unit have that chemistry, now it grows into having confidence. It shows up on the field and allows those guys to make plays.
Jim said Dylan would be playing also this year. When you heard that, what does that mean exactly? How do you see these two?
It's not new for me at all. Every place that I've been, over the past few years, multiple quarterbacks have played. And some of those situations, multiple quarterbacks have been on the field at the same time. That's just where I've been around. And so I think in college football today, you have to prepare your 2 and 3 as if they're starters. And we're not just talking about Dylan, we're talking about Joe Milton as well. And so, you really got to be able to prepare those guys, because if something happens and you lose your one, you don't want it to be a whole culture shock that your starter's down and your other players don't have the trust and comfort level in who your backup is. And when I look at our quarterback room, the depth we have there, the playmaking ability in Joe and in Dylan, they got the trust by our players. And so, our players trust them. They trust them to run the offense effectively and efficiently. And when I came in, I talked about how we use our playmakers. We're multiple personnel. We're going to find the best ways to use all our playmakers. And we're not just isolating playmakers to a label of tight ends, receivers, running backs. That also includes our quarterbacks. And so, you'll see those guys continue to develop, continue to push. Shea has set the bar so high that brings everybody up in that room. And so when I look at our quarterback room, I think we have a great quarterback room, and Coach McDaniels has done an unbelievable job developing those guys.
What has he done to set that bar so high? You said lights out, set the bar high.
Just
What's he doing?
Shea's his understanding of what I want to accomplish within the offense and what we want to accomplish. He's got a great feel and great presence. Obviously, he's improved on a lot of his weaknesses from last year. Not necessarily where they're weaknesses, but we're talking about quarterback fundamentals. We're talking about stepping up in footwork in the pocket, rhythm on throws, timing, understanding reads and progressions, something that we put a huge emphasis on, and Coach McDaniels emphasizes each and every day. I think we got the best quarterback coach in the country, and so to see his development in just a short period of time, obviously he's blessed with tremendous playmaking ability. You can look at his career throughout, but now he's fine-tuned some things and really became a complete quarterback in my opinion.
Josh, what is different is you're making the call with the quarterbacks. How's that dynamic going to work? Is it a plan like, one will play a series here, alternate series, get a quarter?
Our quarterbacks will all be prepared and they'll all play in certain situations. It's too early to identify when those situations may come. In a perfect world, you'd love to all get them in a game, because in that situation, you're probably going to be winning the game, in that standpoint. But we'll find ways to use them. They'll all be prepared as if they're the starter, and that's first and foremost. If we prepare them each week as if they're going to go out and be the starter, they're going to continue to raise the bar for their effort and preparation. And so we just got to continue the competition there. No job is ever set in stone on our offense, and so that's something that I think our players know now. Every job is going to be up for battle, and it's our job as coaches to develop an atmosphere and an environment that those players truly believe that, and they got to bring their best each and every day.
What's that? I'm sorry. Go ahead. What's that offensive meeting room like? Is Jim still having his input, conversations? Is that dynamic of, hey, what are you doing? This is kind of like the plan.
As the spring when Coach said, it's He has not been involved. I mean, it really shouldn't even need to be addressed at all anymore, because this offense is our offense. And so, the offensive meeting room I lead, we run as an offensive unit, and there's no, there's no involvement. But coach is our head coach. He runs the show, and so there has not been one day when he came out to the media and said he wasn't going to be involved in the offense. He's held his word. He's a man, and so we don't need to get to that point anymore. I feel, for that question or anything, he's my head coach, and we'll do whatever what he asks. And our offense is the offense I've brought in, and the offense we run.
Mike Loxley said that you did a good job watching him call plays last year. So.
Yeah,
Josh,
yeah, that was, I have tremendous amount of respect for Mike Loxley. He called every play. There was never any other comments about that, and so, I
How
wish him well.
confident are you that you can pick up and be that guy to do that?
Yeah, I'm 100% confident, Mike Loxley can say I watch him call every play and ask him where the game plans usually came from. And so, I'm fine with that, you know what I mean? So he did call every play, and I've got a notebook upstairs with a lot of the game plans written down in them. So, but I've got tremendous respect for him. Obviously, things didn't work out the way they did. I consider him a friend and a mentor, and that's the way I see it. I don't have any bad feelings. He's done a tremendous amount for my career, and so I respect him for that. But as far as my confidence level, it's extremely high. I've prepared for this opportunity. I've put myself in position to being able to be a figure that's been important. And one of the things that I would talk about, when you talk about play calling and playing games, your call sheet is one Monday through Friday. What you call on Saturday is about putting your kids in position to be successful. There's been coordinators out there that have been coordinators for 20 years and aren't successful. It's not because they've been coordinators for 20 years. It's because they're not putting their kids in position to be successful. So, you win the game Monday through Friday, and that's something that I took a tremendous amount of pride in throughout the years, is making sure I'm a big part of the game plan process at the places I've been. And also, just because I haven't called plays before, I've recommended a lot of plays during games, and so that's what it comes down. I've actually called one play before, recommendation, but
how'd that go?
How did it go? Well, it was a game winner. You know what I mean? So it was. I won't get into all that. And it's last game of Iowa versus, when I was at another institution. But it's just about being a part of it. And I've been fortunate enough to be around coordinators first and foremost that have allowed me to be a part of it. Mike Loxley, Joe Moorhead, those guys, when they want your input and they allow you to be part of it, when you develop ownership within everybody and you entitle and empower everybody on your offensive staff, that develops the buy-in. And so I've been fortunate to work for some really good coordinators. Even John Donovan, when he was the coordinator at Penn State, my time at Vanderbilt. Those guys have done a tremendous job being a mentor to me, developing me as a coach to get me in this position to be a coordinator.
You've been around some great receiver groups, including the group you had last year. Do you see similar potential for the group you have here, and what do they have to do to reach that?
Well, now I'm finally seeing the group I have here, right? Because, a bunch of those guys were out in the spring. But it's been really good to get those guys back, to get Donovan back out there and to see his ability. Obviously, one of the things, kind of like Zach, and we talked about the running back position, is, what the question mark was going to be, how well, do these guys know the offense since they missed so much time? And Donovan's just such a smart kid, smart football player, him and Nico, that they were able to pick up. They haven't really had mistakes out there. And so you're able to see those guys go out and execute. And, obviously missing a significant portion of time of running and playing football, they're just going to get caught up when the wind-wise and the condition-wise. But they've done a really good job so far. But when I look at that receiver room, the depth that we have now that those guys are back is tremendous. I think Tariq Black is another guy who's off to a great camp. Ronnie Bell is playing really, really well for us right now. He's having a great camp. Obviously, everyone's excited about Mikey Sanders still. He's kind of picked up where he left off in the spring. And then a freshman that I'll throw out there is C.J. Johnson, Cornelius Johnson, who's having a great camp as as a true freshman. He's kind of like wowing people the same way Mikey did when he came in. And so when I look at it, I kind of really feel we have a great room, 6 or 7 deep right now of guys that can play for us at receiver. And so, we're just continuing right now with our install, continuing to get those guys that have missed spring caught up, getting their wind underneath them because it's different. Now they're getting adjusted to being in no huddle, and we don't always play fast, but when we choose to, they got to know that they got to be able to sustain it. And so, it's been exciting with that room as well as the tight end room and the running back room.
You omitted Nico. Is he practicing?
Yes, absolutely. No, just said Nico. Yeah, Nico's having a great camp as well.
Are there any other players that you identify that are wowing you?
Yeah, I think when you look at our tight ends, obviously Sean McCune had one of the best springs I've ever seen of a tight end. And I was really excited about it. He was probably one of our top 2 offensive players in the spring, just consistent in everything that he did. Nick Eubanks is a guy that had tremendous talent, and he had a spring where it was kind of a learning adjustment for him. Didn't quite fine-tune all the details, but showed his athletic ability. And we really challenged Nick coming out of spring. And to see where Nick is today, those 2 guys, I hands down believe are the best 2 tight ends in the country. Sean McCune and Nick Eubanks. Nick is playing at an unbelievable level right now throughout spring or throughout this camp. And so I'm excited. I'm excited when I look at that room, look at the receiver room. You look at tight ends, we got Sean McCune, Nick Eubanks, Eric Hall has been exciting people. Mustafa Muhammad's had a really good camp. Luke Schoonamaker. I mean, you could possibly say we're 5 deep at tight end as well. And so I think we have all the pieces needed, necessary to build a really explosive offense. You look at the depth of receiver, running back, and tight end, the competition level is high too. And so when the competition level is high, you're going to demand the best from each and every guy every day.
How was that battle at right tackle?
Really good. It's going really well. It's too early right now to name a guy that's out in front. We're fortunate to be in a position that we have a battle because we've got 2 starters, in my opinion. For some people, when they're going into a right tackle battle, they're trying to figure out who's the guy that is the starter. In my mind, we've got 2 starters right there in Jalen Mayfield and Andrew Stupper. Obviously, Andrew started some games. He's played in some big games here. But when you've got, the 4 returning guys coming back that we got 6 starters up front, in my opinion. And so it's too early. Obviously, you can only play 5 of them. We will not ever line up in a 6 offensive lineman formation, so no one has to worry about that. We don't have that, but it's unfortunate that we can only play 5 because we truly believe we've got 6 starters, and then a bunch of guys that are good, significant players that are backing up some of those guys that are pushing to demand their best. But both guys are having a really good camp. It's just day 5. We're going to continue to stretch this thing out. And continue to demand the best from each one of those guys.
And when you seem to make a lot of strides in the spring, how has he come out of the summer going into this camp?
He's been awesome. He's just a guy that, he is just one of the most impressive guys to look at because, he's 370 pounds. And when you first think about an offensive lineman, you say 370, you worry about him. He has really good feet. He can run. He can move well. He's actually got one of the lowest body fat percentages of all of our offensive linemen. It's just mass, it's just, and he's strong and powerful. I came in over the summer. They were taking their summer pictures with their shirts off, and when you see this guy with his shirt off, he's solid. And so when he's got a guy that powerful, you pause the clips a couple times, and when he knocks back on a defensive lineman, you see that guy move. I can't remember the other day there was a blitz or a pressure coming, and the linebacker came from 5 yards depth, and when he hit him, it does feel like running into a brick wall, and you can see the reaction of the linebacker. And so when you're that stout up front, obviously it helps you in your pocket. It also helps establish our physical presence in our run game, knocking people off the ball. But Mike is playing really, really well.
How much of that are they doing? Are they knocking this offensive line? Because that's what Bredesen was saying a couple weeks ago.
We're aggressive. We're aggressive in our run game. We're a downhill run game. Don't look at us as just a spread. We're a pro spread. And so, first and foremost, we believe in establishing the run game first. We're going to come off the ball. We're not going to play in some kind of finesse. And I think a lot of times people get the misconception that when you're a spread offense, it's some kind of finesse offense. Yes, we do things from spread principles in our operations, but we want to be a downhill run scheme. And so we want to come off the ball aggressively and be physical, and that's when we talk about our style of play. Our style of play is not going to be lacking in our run game. That's one thing people don't have to worry about.
Josh, if you had to pick one guy, you mentioned like 4 or 5 guys of the running backs. If you had 4th and goal from the 1 or a 3rd and 1, who would you give the ball to right now?
Any of them. I truly believe that any one of those guys, I wouldn't dare pick one of those guys in that situation, not to not label one guy, because I truly feel they all five could get it done right now for us. And I like where they're at. I really can't see one guy yet pull away from that group, and that's the exciting thing. And when I say pull away, I don't necessarily mean one guy pull away, but that group, in most cases, you have one guy pull out in front, but this group has really kind of pushed themselves out front. And they're really competing at a really good level, and they have a lot of similar attributes as their skill. You know, they all can make the cuts we needed necessary. They all have good speed. You know, the one we got to continue to improve our ball skills there because they will get some catches. You know, we got to continue to work on that. But I would say that's probably the only thing that we've got to continue to work on with our backs, is just making sure they're all eligible as far as pass catchers and not just runners.
Can
The
Tariq,
skill position depth. How do you maximize the skill position depth without, I mean, knowing players want to play and also not maybe specializing them or having labels, as you said?
The ball finds the players. You know, we don't ever label a guy or label a play, the ball's going here or going there. The ball is, you know, dictated and predicated off of what the defense does. And so when you look at the numbers of at the skill positions that I've been around in past years, the numbers really even themselves out. And so I think the kids understand that, and they know that within the system, that, you know, it's not like being in some systems where one guy has 100 catches, the next guy has 20. You know, they're all going to bring it because they can get the ball on each and every play. And so that's what kind of sets that standard and you know, really allows, you know, the guys to truly believe that they're a part of it, is the ball disperses himself. When we talk about being balanced, balance for us is not just run or pass. Balance is how many guys touch the ball. And so we want to be balanced in that standpoint, that the ball is being distributed to all of our playmakers and all of our skill guys.
you've been around some elite offenses, obviously. How good can this offense be?
It can be pretty good. It can be pretty good. We just got to continue to take the steps necessary each and every day. A part of our process. We got to continue to believe. We got to continue to believe in each other. And we got to continue to be disciplined. You know what I mean? We got to play a disciplined brand of football. But when you look at the overall talent of this offense and where we are and where we can go, we just got to work each and every day. Take it one step at a time, one day at a time, one play at a time. Take the coaching from indie to group and group to team, and on Saturdays, it'll show. It'll show.
Players often say they visualize plays. Do you ever sit there and visualize calling the game? I mean, being in this first game?
Absolutely. I visualize it all the time. And in fact, the thing that I think one of the things that Coach Harbaugh does an unbelievable job at is a lot of our periods are call-it periods. So we're constantly, and I'm constantly calling plays in practice. Not with the script or with every, situations can change. It can be second down play, it can be red zone lockout, it can be first down, and you got to call those situations. And so, we did a third down, we did a red zone yesterday. We're constantly calling plays throughout practice. It actually makes our job easier in practice, me and Don's, because we don't have to script it. When you call it, you don't have to script 130 plays in practice, and so we kind of appreciate that standpoint. But going through all those situations, even 2-minute we did the other day, those are so valuable to me as a coordinator and to Coach Brown. That's one of the things that allows us to being able to, once you get to Saturdays, you feel very, very confident about where you are.
Is Donovan 100%? And what is Tariq Black's role on this team?
Tariq Black, first,
Yeah.
I'll start with Tariq. Tariq is off to having a great camp. Tariq is really kind of turned it up even more, than what he did in the spring. I think the spring was a little bit of an adjustment learning-wise and kind of picking up everything, but now he's buying into the coaching, buying into the details. He's playing at a very high level. Like I said, him and Ronnie Bell right now are the two guys that have really stood out at receiver. And obviously people talk about Donovan, people talk about Nico, but those two guys right now are playing lights out. And so, I really feel, we've got a number of different guys that can start for us, as well as Mike is having a good camp and CJ. But, all the attention always goes to Nico and Donovan, which is rightfully so. Those two guys are very, very talented players, but Tariq's got a role on this team. Tariq will be a big-time playmaker for us this season. And then the other part. Donovan's doing really well.
Okay.
Donovan's playing. Donovan hasn't missed a snap of practice. He's been doing really well. Very smart kid. Now it's just kind of about getting your conditioning down, kind of pushing through with everything. And he's been making plays, and he's had a really good job taking over now, learning the details and the techniques that we teach in that position and applying them this camp, because he missed all that this spring, but he's done a really good job catching up.
You've been on the job 7 or 8 months now, new offense, first time running the show. Is there anyone you've leaned on for advice or anyone you turn to?
I just think, within our, obviously Joe Moorhead is a very close friend of mine. We talk 2 or 3 times a week. But when I look at our offensive staff, I've got the best offensive staff in the country, I truly believe. And not just about, the Sharon Moores, the Jay Harbaughs, the Ben McDaniels, the Ed Warners, but we got a great group of guys that don't quite often get their name mentioned. We were able to hire a couple analysts, this offseason that have made tremendous value. Steve Casula, a guy that was a former coordinator at Fair State. Juan Castile, a guy who's a 20-year offensive line coach. Brandon Blaney. When you have those veteran guys in that room, a number of different guys have been coordinators or coached at a number of different places. We got a great room and for offensive staff. And so obviously when I throw things up on the board, I'm always asking guys, I want input, I want involvement. And that's the thing, I've been fortunate. Like I spoke about, I've been around a lot of offenses that have allowed me to be involved. And now it's about having all of our coaches be involved as well, having the buy-in, having the ownership of the offense, that this is our offense. This is not about Josh Gattis. This is not about me, okay? That's the last thing this ever needs to be mentioned. It's about our kids. It's about our players. This is our offense, the one we've created together, all right? And just the one we run here is Michigan's offense.